Good day. It's the 11th of June, 2021. It's very rainy here in Virginia. Hope it's nicer where you're at. But I saw a lady pushing a baby stroller running in the pouring rain. So God bless her. What I'm going to do now is start discussing each of the criminal investigator training programs. Yesterday I did the police programs, the different federal police agencies. I also did one on the Customs and Border Protection and the Border Patrol Academy. And as you probably noticed, there's a difference in the types of training. There's the one set of training protocols where you go to a uniform police package course at FLETC. So if you're going to be, let's say, a Department of Defense police officer, or a Secret Service uniform division, or Capitol Police, you go to their program, you get trained as a police officer in general by FLETC staff, and then after that you go to specialized training. You go to your own agency's training. And I like that package, actually. I think it's very good. And I think the opportunity, FLETC is going to want to train you with a minimum amount of interference. And here's why it's the most beneficial, I think, for the agency. Number one, FLETC is there to give you training and not harass you at all or give you anything that's extraneous to what the agency's mission is. They want to train you. And if they dismiss you from FLETC, it's going to be for a good reason. And here's why I know it's going to be for a good reason. Because the director of FLETC is going to have to get on the phone, a senior executive is going to get on the phone with the senior executive of the agency that you're being dismissed from. They're going to have to tell you, we're throwing Mr. X or Mrs. X out of training. Why? Because they did X, Y, and Z. And they don't like to make that call. Okay, I'll just tell you that. They don't like to make that call. Now, when you saw yesterday, okay, you had the Customs and Border Protection and the Border Patrol Academies. Those are closed academies. They don't go for a separate police package and then come to their academies. Their academies are run strictly by their agency. Now, what was the difference that you saw between the two types of training? And one that you saw probably was that even like in a job like CBP, they're playing, they got the drill instructor hats and everything. Now, to be a CBP officer, do you really need to be wearing a drill instructor hat and teach people to march because some girl who's running it, young lady, woman, everybody's young to me, wants to be a drill instructor? No. I mean, why the hell do they have to know how to march to be a CBP officer? I mean, it's totally ridiculous. You don't need to do that. I was a Marine enlisted man. Went through boot camp. Okay, the reason we drill was invented in the 18th century because you only had a one-shot weapon. And, in order to keep the rounds going down range, you had to have people stood in ranks. That's where drill was invented. Now, they keep it in the Marine Corps for enlisted to teach you instant obedience to orders, to teach you to focus, and to teach you to work as one, as a platoon. Okay? Officers in the Marine Corps don't drill. I live right by Quantico. You can go by OCS. They're not on the drill field getting screamed at. They don't do that. Officers have a totally different function than enlisted Marines. Okay, so we don't have to teach them to drill. They might teach them just the real basics, how to salute, obviously, how to do an about face. But, commissioned officers, that's not part of their training. Okay? Now, law enforcement training is more like officer training in the military than enlisted training. Now, the Border Patrol Academy, I think the intense trying to stimulate as much stress as you can by yelling at people, that's different because, again, when they do that, the shark attacks in enlisted boot camp, why do they do that? It's to try to to train you to focus in a chaotic environment, and the expectation is you'll go into combat or might go into combat, and combat is chaotic, so they want you to be able to kind of tune everything out and just do what you're doing. Don't go to pieces because someone is yelling in your face. And I think of all the agencies, I think the Border Patrol, that's the most pertinent to train that way. I think Customs and Border Protection, they shouldn't be training that way at all. And certainly when you go to the federal investigator, criminal investigator series, they shouldn't train that way. So what I'm going to talk about now, or next, is the criminal investigator training programs. A criminal investigator is someone who has a GS 1811 series. Okay, so that excludes deputy marshals. Okay, it excludes border patrol agents. But criminal investigator means your job involves the investigation of criminal laws for the United States. And that is a huge, wide variety of people. They have Department of Agriculture criminal investigators, and they have FBI criminal investigators. Now, typically, these men and women are referred to as special agents. Well, what is special about them? That means it simply means that they have a legal status that's conferred on them. And if you're a DEA or FBI special agent, you're a special agent of the Attorney General of the United States. If you're an ATF special agent, you're now a special agent of the Attorney General. If you are a ICE special agent, you're a special agent of Homeland Security's person. If you're an IRS special agent, you're a special agent of the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen. Okay, so that's what that means. Okay, so your creds will say special agent on them, but the job title is criminal investigator. And there are two basic types of academies. Now we're going to get into breaking them down, but the two types of academies are the general package criminal investigator training, which I like, the CITP, criminal investigator training program, which an agency will send their new trainees to at Glencoe. Most of all of them are at Glencoe, Georgia. There might be one or two in Artesia, New Mexico, but I think it's like the Glencoe, Georgia. It's about 60 days in length. And they teach the new trainees everything you need to know in general about criminal investigation. So they learn how to run informants, what an informant is. Okay, they learn about the United States Code. They learn about how to write affidavits for search warrants. While they're going through this program, the class will have a task force, like a practical problem that they solve, where they interview people and work their way up to doing a search warrant. And then after they finish that program, then they go to agency specific. So if you're Secret Service, from there you go to Sneaky Service Special Agent Training in Laurel, Maryland, which would focus on firearms and what you have to do as a Secret Service agent, which, they have a mock-up of Air Force One. They have the Beast, the big vehicle, and you get to walk alongside of it. And, whatever the Secret Service does, mainly, which is mostly protection, 99% protection. Okay, if you are going to be an ATF agent, they have ATF Special Agent Basic Training, which is, again, the gun laws of the United States, which you have to know inside and out. I don't think there's, and the explosive laws, which are pretty simple. You're not supposed to have them if you're a civilian unless you have a license. And, the moonshiners, I don't think they do too many of those. IRS, of course, they go to a special class on how to do the tax code, okay? That second type, and this is the more difficult type, it's the one-stop shopping. It can be more difficult. And the FBI does that, the DEA does that, and the marshals, who are not, again, special agents, have their own one-stop shop. So we don't go to CITP, we just go right to our academy as DEA agents or FBI agents, and you get the whole training program right there. And so that's the differences in the different criminal investigator training programs. What I'm going to do now, after this, I'm going to talk about the DEA's program, and then I'm going to talk about the FBI's program, because those are standalone. And then we'll get into the different agencies that what CITP covers, and then the different specific areas for each of the agencies. For instance, Secret Service, ATF, so on and so forth. So, but these agencies differ greatly. And again, remember this, as I talk about the DEA, when an agency has complete control of its training program, there's a lot more room for extraneous things to be added in than there is when FLETC's doing it. Because, again, it's like the state police. The state police do it one way because they're in control of their hiring. They're in control of their academy. Okay, if you go to a regional police academy and they have to throw you out, then they got to get on the phone with the chief of police, and there's going to be a problem. But if they're just doing it themselves, they have a lot more latitude. How's that? And some of them use the latitude well, and some of them don't use it so well. So let's talk about the DEA in the next video.